The Truman Scholarship is obviously named after President Harry S. Truman, and it's intended to go to students who are preparing to go into public service.
Typically, the students who apply really want to give back, really have a deep, abiding, sincere commitment to what it means to serve the public.
When the student comes in, I try to help the student understand that it's highly competitive, and the chances of winning, say, a Truman are very slim.
It's a long shot. I mean, the odds are not with you when you're applying for these national scholarships.
We've not had a Truman Fellow for over 25 years. In my 6th year of doing that work, Brooks Payette turned up. What I always hope for and look for is someone who walks into the office and all of a sudden I said, yes, this is someone who's real. Hey, Brooks!
How are we doing?
Okay,
Great to see you. Great to see you. I attended the meeting and said, well,
great.
I'm doing pretty well in school. I've had a commitment to public service, community service my entire life, and I had a lot of leadership opportunities and experiences. So I said, this scholarship kind of sounds like something that would fit me.
Brooks represents something that I have always loved about the University of New Hampshire.
Clipped.
A first-generation college student who extraordinarily bright, talented, motivated, committed.
I'd say give him that list of top 10 states.
And the university is able to help students like that really achieve at a very high level and mix with the best of their generation across the country.
Part of the reason I became a professor was to meet students like Brooks and hopefully help them out in a little way.
I thought, well, he's going to be the perfect Truman Scholar candidate, except he was a non-traditional student.
I grew up in Berlin, New Hampshire, in northern New Hampshire, a very small town, big into the mill industry. My father worked in the mill. It was also a hockey town, USA, Berlin, so growing up from 5 years old right up until I graduated high school, it was hockey, hockey, hockey year-round. In high school, I stayed pretty busy. I always took classes. I never had a study hall the entire time. That was the one record I left high school with. I had the most credits from Berlin High School, so to this day, it still stands. But, I like to stay busy.
The more I learned about Brooks, the more impressed I've been. He's a serious young man, and he has more under his belt than your typical UNH undergrad.
My sophomore year of college, when I went to school at USM in Gorham, Maine, the mill shut down for the first time. It was certainly tough. My father lost his job. It actually affected my financial aid. Financially, it was impossible to stay in school.
I think it's especially significant that, that Brooks came from the North Country of New Hampshire, a place that's often not paid attention to as it's lost population over time and it's lost significance as an industrial center, of course.
But it was a blessing in disguise. During that time, I got the head coaching position for Berlin women's hockey, which is a goal I always wanted to coach at the high school level. And then a couple months later, I actually got hired as a sports editor, for which I worked for 5 years.
I kept finding new layers, the depths of him and his self-understanding of what he'd done. He's rightly proud of what he's done, but he doesn't come across as boasting. He just tells you, and you say, wow, that's pretty great.
Throughout my life, really, it's been about service to me. I enjoy whether it be serving the community and that sort of stuff. But there was something in me that I needed a new challenge. Morning, sir. I'd always thought of joining the military. I wanted to finish my degree, so the two really went hand in hand. I enlisted in the Air National Guard in 2008, November, and then simultaneously applied to UNH. It was accepted and began UNH in the fall of 2009.
This guy has worked his way through college, in and out of college, taking jobs, joining the Air Force, and he made his breakthrough at UNH in terms of academia at a 4.0 and knowing what he wanted to do.
The Republican Party.
I took a class, the presidency, with Professor Scholar, and I loved the class. I think that the faculty here has done a good job at recognizing someone who wants to make the most out of their experience here, and they recognize that with me.
Just in terms of excellence, he's set the standard, I think, for UNH students in my future.
I came to understand later by working with him how it was that he could command a unit of 100 other people in the Air Force, and his unit would win top awards because those 100 men obviously trusted him because they bonded with him. He's that kind of person. You bond with him through trust.
Well, thank you very much, sir. Have a great day. My staff sergeant, he used to call me Mr. President, just because of, I was always reading like books, or political science books, or books on the presidency in our free time. Can it be legitimate? Can it be passed?
This is why public universities are important, to help students like Brooks get that foot in the door and then see what he does with it.
It was a scholarship I really felt like, if there was one out there that was me, I felt like this one was me.
He was quite sure he had not won one because he had been in touch with some of the other finalists and they had already heard.
I was walking to go to class and I said, I would know by now. There's no, everybody else knows, I would know.
This is the only program I know of that had the idea, which I think is wonderful, that the president or provost should simply walk in on one of Brooks' classes and call him out and tell him, well, start to cry. There's a great picture of him the moment he was standing there with Lisa McFarland and John Aber, thinking somebody else had won something or done something, and they said, Truman Scholar.
And they said my name, and I popped my head up, and I was like, and of course when he said my name, I knew it was for the Truman.
It's incredibly fun to let somebody know these kinds of awards change people's lives.
It wasn't about the money, it was just really about winning this scholarship because of who Harry Truman was and what the scholarship stood for.
He's typical of the UNH student that I've found here who can compete anywhere with anyone, with anyone at an elite private college.
There's two areas I'm really interested in. The first one is increasing physical fitness to combat childhood obesity in schools. That's kind of, I would say, my champion cause going forward. I'm actually hoping to intern at the White House with the First Lady's Let's Move program this summer.
Our job as educators is to take whoever comes here and move them to the next step in their lives.
My time at UNH has been great. I've gotten more out of it than I ever imagined. I guess my dreams and my horizons have expanded since coming here.